I'm going in a bit of a different direction today than truth and lying and thinking about sort of lies in our political life, which was originally what I was thinking about. But I am thinking a lot about truth, and I want to talk about truth today. I've been thinking a lot about truth in these last couple of weeks. Specifically, a friend recently said to me, "Isn't it a shame that we live in a world where truth is split in two? Half the people see it with blue glasses, and half the people see it with red ones." What is true about our world, what constitutes its basic makeup and the facts of its reality, is torn apart by two camps that can never see eye to eye with one another. It seems to leave truth in tatters, and any attempt to repair it as a hopeless enterprise. Is there truth? And what do we do when people hold very, very, very different versions of the truth? The Unitarian Universalist minister Forrest Church tried to reconcile competing notions of truth, and he did it by using the metaphor of a grand cathedral. Each colorful glass window casts a unique pattern of light where people can appreciate its beauty. Truth for him is like the sun. No one sees it directly. It's only filtered through those unique and intricate windows. And sometimes it can seem like your window is the only one, and so you dismiss the beauty and the legitimacy of the other windows. But when people can step back a bit, Forrest Church says, they can take in the beauty and the details and the delicacy and the complexity of all of those different windows. And they can appreciate that each group has its own unique angle on the truth. I like the metaphor. I have used it. I often explain Unitarian Universalism, which celebrates many different faith traditions and practices, with that metaphor. And it does something special and important, something that is needed in these times. There are many ways to the truth, many religious traditions that offer important perspectives on life. And we need many voices in order to have a rich and diverse and full sense of the world and what it has to offer. We don't have to think that every difference is an all or nothing affair. And so if I am inspired by, say, the teachings of Jesus, and you are inspired by the teachings of the Buddha, there is an opportunity for a rich conversation that can happen, a dialogue that can open us in new ways. I can learn from you and even take some of the teachings of your faith, and you can do the same with me. The more I have thought about this metaphor, though, and the more I have tried to apply it to the current moment, the more I struggle with it. I've come to think of it as somewhat of a fair weather perspective, one that works when things aren't too dangerous. You see, the metaphor assumes that each person has a unique angle on the truth, and that angle is worthy and good. And here is where I am going to argue with my dear deceased colleague, Forrest. Sorry, Forrest. Not every perspective is beautiful and worthy and important. I think that some perspectives on our world are ugly. The Christian nationalism and white supremacist ideologies that are emboldened and becoming more prevalent and visible are examples of beliefs that I find ugly, examples of truths that I find broken, of tenets that I find unsalvageable. Now, I have all kinds of caveats for this, as you can imagine, really important caveats. When I say that these belief systems are ugly, it doesn't mean that the people who believe them are bad. I think that they have inherent dignity and worth, and I will always, always put love at the center when I am talking about human beings. And I will believe always deep in my guts that no person deserves contempt or hatred. But the idea that every system of belief is beautiful and unique, that it contains a kernel of truth, that, I think, is more suited for an interfaith gathering of well-meaning people, not for the political environment that we find ourselves in. The environment that we find ourselves in is often ugly, and it requires wisdom about how to navigate it. And I was asked about this recently, asked what we can do to lower the temperature and build bridges with those who disagree with us. And I appreciate and respect where that impulse is coming from. I really do. And I also wish to see polarization end or at least diminish a bit. But I also worry about the old joke, the old quip about Unitarian Universalists, that we are so open-minded that sometimes our brains fall out. And I very much want to keep hold of mine. I am sure that we all do, because we need our minds now more than ever in this fraught moment. And what my mind and heart are telling me is that we need clarity and purpose, a moral center, a guide to truth that works not only for the fair weather, but also in the treacherous currents of this political moment. And it is a treacherous moment. Christian nationalism is a burgeoning movement that encompasses more than 20% of the U.S. population and more than half of the Republican Party. On the Wikipedia page for Christian nationalism, it defines the movement as associated with xenophobia, homophobia, misogyny, political tolerance of racists, opposition to interracial union, support for gun rights, and restricting the civil rights of those who fail to conform to traditional beliefs and ideals of whiteness, citizenship, and Protestantism. The Christian nationalist belief system includes elements of patriarchy, white supremacy, nativism, anti-Semitism, and heteronormativity, and it was heavily associated with the events of January 6, 2020. It believes that America is superior to other countries and only Christians are true Americans. And as one academic article puts it, it celebrates and privileges the sacred history, liberty, and rightful rule of white conservatives. What does this moment require of us? Does it require more tolerance and acceptance of those beliefs, more attempts to see their value and their truth, more efforts to build bridges over these troubled waters? Or does it require something else, something more insistent, something that can counter the ugliness of those religious and political beliefs and provide an alternative vision of the truth? Here is where I turn to Gandhi, and specifically his concept of satyagraha, which translates as holding firmly to the truth. Now, for Gandhi, this isn't fanatically holding on to a belief against any kind of evidence that might prove that belief wrong. Instead, it requires a purification of the truth so that the truth is always reshaped to make it more loving and just and accountable to people and to context. As Gandhi writes, the use of satyagraha turns the searchlight inward relentlessly to weed out all of the defects that may be lying hidden there still. And only when one has considered the truth and decided, yes, this is my truth, only when they know it in their guts do they act upon it. And then the other thing about satyagraha, about holding on to the truth, is that once you decide upon the truth, once you know it in the guts, once you know what is true for you, once you can say to yourself and others, I know this much to be true, then you hold on to that fiercely. You don't surrender it to others who say that it's untrue. You don't compromise on the truth. Instead, you relentlessly, doggedly pursue it. Pursue it even when you are the person who stands alone, even when you are in a culture that calls you stupid stupid or naive or bad for believing it. You hold on to that truth firmly. And what's more, you assume that eventually everyone, every person will come around to that truth. It may be unlikely. Gandhi knew that there would likely always be people who wanted to hurt and kill him, who rejected the truth. But that doesn't matter. You nonetheless hold on to the truth and live by it and insist on it over and over, again and again. And then the last thing about Satyagraha is that there are no enemies. There are no enemies. None. The people who hate and despise you for what you know to be the truth, you who insist on abhorrent claims and cruel actions and false statements, they have not yet come around to the truth, but you trust that one day they will. You assume that one day they will come to see your truth as irresistible, and so you always treat them with dignity and respect, even when they approach you with hatred and contempt. You have respect for their worth and dignity of your opponent no matter what. You even defend your enemy when others try to hurt them. As Gandhi puts it, you are not holding to Satyagraha. You are not holding firmly to truth when you are silent and passive spectators while your enemy is being done to death. You are called to protect them, even when they hate you. Trans lives matter. Trans people deserve respect. Trans people shouldn't be erased, and if I have to shout that from the rooftops, I will. Women should be able to make decisions about their bodies with their doctors. Climate change is real and it is urgent. ICE should not be taking children from schools and families from churches. Palestinians are human beings and they are being dispossessed of their land and their rights. The right to own a gun shouldn't outweigh the right of children to feel safe in their schools. People of other countries have dignity and they deserve respect and protection, and I will state those claims, my beliefs, my truths, and I will do it again and again against those who say otherwise, and I will wait. I will wait with an open hand and an open heart, ready for them to find those truths irresistible, and even when they don't, I will fight for them until I see them become true in our world. There is something incomprehensibly forceful in this, almost fearfully so, because it requires knowing your truth and taking a risk in advancing it, even in the face of dispute and disagreement and danger. And there's something irresistibly gentle in it as well, because you know that no one is your enemy. You're inviting them always to come around to see the truth. You always hold your hand open, and by doing so, you can, in a gentle way, as Gandhi puts it, shake the world. My spiritual companions, go forth and tell the truth. Amen. I love you, and may it be so.